What is up, guys? Wraith here, Graybearded Gaming Society. We're at it again, and this time we are headed straight into UpperGuk. Now, we've gotten a little bit of experience. So you can see from the early kind of portion of our video here, we leveled up to 18, mostly grinding away on the skeletons in the top of Kern's Tower. We did sneak down into the basement area a little bit, and we messed around with some of the burr and eye kind of mole guys down there. And while it was doable, because of the way it was set up with the constant doors and opening and closing in the hallway, it was super easy to get ads. It was super easy to get, extras. And really, while the toolbox will deal with them, we are much better suited to dealing with the undead up top, right? Even within the rooms, and we get some ads because we could root one, we could kind of do some crowd control elements, things like that. Now, obviously it could be just as dangerous here in UpperGuk. Some of these rooms will have multiple mobs, so we'll kind of have to be careful. We'll have to gauge ourselves and see what we can and can't get away with. And, obviously we are not going to swing for the fences, so to speak, on some of the bigger camps. Figure we're going to, sneak our way in with a little bit of invis. We're going to go in there. We're going to check out some of the really early camps that I remembered from UpperGuk. Like the Heart Spider camp used to be a pretty good one for decent experience. I remember there was quite a bit of the spiders through there. You could hold it. Not really worried about the loot aspect of it. Really not too concerned there. But we'll take a look through, see what we got, see how we can kind of work through it. And then if you kind of go through that branch kind of off to the side, you could pop out at the scryer room. And one of the cool things about the scryer, assuming that we can get the room under wraps and we can hold it on our own, was that the scryer, as an enchanter, could possibly pose us some problems as well. I'll put that out there early. We'll see how we do, or if we can even get him to spawn up. But one of the things about the scryer, was that he could actually drop pieces of loot that are actually useful for us. So for the first time in some of the things that we've done here, we might actually have a chance, if we can hold the camp, to actually successfully kind of farm for some of our own upgrades. It's the Bracelet of Woven Grass, if I'm not mistaken, was the name of it. I believe it was like 2 or 3 intelligence, and it had some hit points on it. I believe it was 10 hit points, maybe 20 hit points. Again, it's been a long time. I remember it being a good item kind of back in the day. And again, when we're looking at some cloth wristbands here, it's not going to be very hard to upgrade these. Even if we only get one of them, it'll be a pretty good spot. So we're going there. We're going to see what we can get done. We may wipe out, because again, as we've seen a handful of times already, doing the dungeons by yourself on level is very difficult. Now these little guys outside, kind of prove the point for me. I mean, I invised up, so obviously they're going to be indifferent. All these guys are small, but they were obviously also immediately KOS. As an evil race and as an evil class, there's just no way these guys were going to like me. And it's not that that's some huge problem. It's just we'll have to be a little bit more careful moving around in Guk, right? To make sure, since so much stuff is going to aggro us, we'll have to be very careful kind of how we move around and kind of do our fair share of sneaking. The guys at the door, remember, being pretty kind of small. We're going to work our way down here. And there's our little achievement for showing up in Guk. A couple little sentry guys. And this... yeah, so this was the path that we should be after. We'll check our map just to make sure that I'm kind of remembering correctly. Yeah, there we go. And it's actually, again, a much better map than the base map. But you could go down this water channel over here to the side and not have to weasel around through some of this as much. But we should be able to get through here and then check out kind of some of the spider areas. Again, used to be kind of a specific camp. I remember, especially like druid types, and we used to love it over there because they could use some of their animal-based spells. In our case, hopefully we'll be able to do, a little pet tanking. I don't think we'll be able to let loose with some fear kiting, but if we clear it up and open it up, then potentially we'll see what the experience through here looks like, and then we'll try to work our way up to the scryer room, which is right on this side here. They said the handy thing about the scryer room is the room itself, if you can break it. You've got like one guy, I think, in this corner, maybe a roamer, and a couple of guys across the top. So if you can stay in the room and keep them up here in the room, you should be in pretty good shape. I know, if I remember correctly, it was either in this corridor or right through here somewhere where we had quite a few kind of ads. But let's make sure so we still have our invis up. These guys are gray. They'll probably still aggro us. We're not going to mess around with these guys. They'll probably drop some junk loot. We're going to fall in the water and apparently be in knee-deep water and have to swim in it, apparently. So it'll slow us down a little bit because haven't exactly done a lot of swimming lessons. I don't remember there really being much in the water here. Maybe a stray crocodile or something, but I don't see where they're going to give us any problems either. Yeah, there we go, a little swamp water crocodile. Yeah, and you're just not worth our time. So here's the first little spot I'm about poking out at. And again, you know, we got blue mobs here. Let's see what we got. He is level 13, so he is on par. We got him by a few levels, but he is still dark blue. And the thing, of course, with the spiders is you're always talking about some potential to be poisoned. So we will kind of methodically, I think, work our way through. Because most of these, well, actually, these guys are just spawning in a different, so we can kind of take a peek. Now that, yeah, that's the larger heart spiders. And I believe, let me take a peek at the map here. Yeah, so that is actually the placeholder for what is basically the named of, you know, the heart spiders of the big guys. So I think what we'll do real quick, just to kind of see, I'm not really sure what the kind of experience modifier is down here. See if I can get in a spot where I'm set back here. So let's take off our invis. So these guys are indifferent to us, even when we're straight visible. And that guy is ready to attack. So the placeholder will be ready to attack, and he is, said, a little bit bigger than us. So let's see what happens if we put our pet on this guy right here. All right, so they do socially aggro, so we'll keep tabs on that. As long as we focus on one, go with the snare to make sure he doesn't run away. Pile drive a pretty quick dot here and kind of try to melt him down. One thing I probably should have remembered to do on the bar first was get my mana spell on there. So we're already failing at being a good necro because we don't have our mana spell on a bar. So let's get that. Of course, the one super cool thing about leveling up again was that we got Allure of Death. So we have our update to our health to mana spell. And then we did experiment some with it while sitting on the top of Cairns, and you know, it is definitely stronger than the one that we had, and also strong enough now to where, you know, we will work through our own hit points pretty quickly. So I'm wanting to make sure that we keep, you know, leech or at bare minimum life draw on the bar so we can keep up with our health. We don't want that to fall too far behind. So we're at 18.6 experience here. Let's see when we drop this guy, kind of what the experience looks like. Let's see, got some, what's that, a little bloodstone. So a little bit of loot off this guy. So about 1% experience per kill, which again, it was not bad when you consider that these guys were smaller than us. Now our pet is poisoned. Let's get him sitting down so he can start to kind of regen. That he has our buffs on him only right now. He's got the focus death. He has the spirit armor. And of course, we don't get a new imaginary friend until level 20. At level 20, I don't believe these guys would even show up as experience, only just probably the named, but this pet would probably kind of walk through them quite a bit easier. But as you can see, the one thing I said that I did point out, we have Allure of Death. It's a little bit stronger. That, as you can see, even sitting down with the buff that you get on the TLP servers, I am still actually losing hit points now. Unlike before, where if I sat down and everything was fine, I would out-heal the health that the spell was pulling off to give me back the mana. In this case, I actually will not. But as you can see, my mana is going up quite fast, especially when you have both of them together. With the Allure of Death and that buff, it's going to go up pretty quick. So it should keep us, like I said, in pretty good shape. So, you know, knowing that the spider area, see, we're going to get some social aggro. They're going to be pretty close together. We really don't have a way to necessarily control them. You can do certain things, like we could do, you know, we could try to do like some feign death pulling. We can, you know, try that, get a snare, let them get way out, kind of feign death. You know, keep the pet kind of off to the side and keep him unengaged so they don't, you know, mug him. Of course, the tricky part at this size, of course, is the pet's going to clobber kind of whatever hits us, so we have to be really careful just to kind of keep him out of the way. But, you know, one of the things I am actually a little bit more curious about, and we'll come back to this area, but let's go take a peek. Let's get our invis spell back up so we can work our way. Again, it's not these guys I'm worried about when we're just moving around, because they're not going to want to mess with us. But as soon as we run into some frog locks, those guys are really not going to want to have anything to do with us. So here we go. So his frog lock guard, he is KOS, but he is small. So let's see Let's get our invis going and see if we can't sneak towards that room. I said we should be really close if I remember correctly. Yeah, we kind of go up and around the corner, and we'll see what we got. So as you can see, like the rooms, you know, multiple guys here. These guys are gray, so they should be no big deal. Pop down our stairs. But now this is, we got a blue, we got an even, we've got another blue. What do we got up top? We got a dark blue, and a dark blue. So one of the big tricks here, I think, oh, looks like somebody's actually been through here somewhat recently, because we actually have kind of corpse in the room. So I didn't even check to see, is anybody in here with us right now? Does not look like it. So we're by ourselves right now, but obviously somebody has been here at some point. So we got this guy kind of hidden in the corner, and we got 3 guys here up on kind of the pulpit, the stage, however you want to put it. So, you know, very high probability of getting multiples at once on the first pull. I think the big trick will be, can we break them, you know, somewhat safely, get ourselves in a good position where we can have one spawn at a time and fight them without having things get out of control. Now, the other thing I forgot to do, because I'm awesome, was to have my pet stand up and actually follow me. So my pet's still way back there in the spider, so now is not the time to get brave at all. So we'll give him a minute to catch up. Like I said, my thoughts on the strategy for the room is I'm thinking that if we can kill this dude right here in the corner, make sure we pile on the dots quickly, and make sure that we keep him snared, so we keep him under control and make sure he doesn't leave that room. I think that'll be kind of our biggest threats, is if something can get out of that room. We'll have a little bit of runway here, not a ton, because again, there's a roamer right there. But again, you've got to stretch a hallway here, and this guy roams, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe he sits there all the time. So a little bit of space in this direction, but if it goes towards that room, that's where we'll definitely have some problems. So I'm thinking we'll try to take out this guy in the corner. We'll just kind of dogpile on top of this guy and try to handle him right where he is sitting, and then try to keep all the fighting on that side of the room so we don't have to worry about these 3 guys here. Now, if we break the room and find that we have a lot of time between the spawns, I actually don't have my timer set up, so let's make sure we get that set up too. I don't know off the top of my head what the spawn timer for the room is. Let me get my clock set up here and get my stopwatch ready. When we kill this first dude, we'll hit our stopwatch and try to remember to kind of keep tabs when he respawns to see what kind of spawn timer we're looking at. We got a pretty good amount of mana, pretty good amount of health, so we're going to kick off our fight with this guy right here in hopes that if we stay right on top of him, keep him very dotted up, and make sure that he can't get anywhere. So send in the pet. Get the dot going quick, or the snare I should say. Oh, let's not do that. About to fear him and get myself murdered right out of the gate. That would go horribly for me. So let's pile on some dots here. Another thing that we might have thought to do, yeah, even if we pull aggro, that should be fine. We'll get the leech on. Our big thing is just to get this guy down, make sure that we keep it safely. Well, since I'm going to stand there, I'm going to stab you right in the face. But he's got the snare, so he shouldn't go anywhere. So now we should have this side of the room clear. A little frog lock, and frog lock faction going down the drain. But when they already want to kill you, it's really kind of not a big deal. So let's sit back down again. We pile drived our mana pretty quickly there to make sure we just got every dot on the guy, and we have our stopwatch now going to kind of see, you know, how long it takes this guy to respawn. I think up next, what we're going to try to do here is break the stage, right, and try to get ourselves set up in a position where we can kind of safely, comfortably farm the room. But let's get our Allure of Death rolling so we can get our mana coming back again. We have Copper Squat and pull this kind of stuff going back up here. And I have an idea where I think we're actually going to try to invis, sneak across the stage, fight this one guy by himself. I don't know if he's far enough over, but it's worth a shot to see if we fight him right where he sits. Are we far enough away to not have to deal with his friends? And then the one advantage is, even if we kind of have to go all out to get him down, even if we kind of lose our pet, we can try to retreat to this corner of the room here, get a feigned death, while it will be a slower recovery, obviously, that's what it takes to break the room. It might be worth it because, again, I'm pretty excited to try to sit back and actually farm some of our own upgrades. I think it'll be very kind of worthwhile. It just like in the old days, it was so much better. It meant more when you got some of the stuff on your own. You know, when you spent all day in that group and finally got that piece of loot. Of course, the advantage here is I don't have to share, which is handy. So let's give this one a shot. We're going to invis up. I don't think either one of these guys saw through my invis. I'll target myself and not be able. All right. So let's see if we can get all the way across here. Like I said, it's gonna be a high probability that we're gonna get everybody. I don't think we're gonna be able to split these because now that I'm up here, they're even closer than kind of I thought they were. So let's try to do something like this here. I know some of these guys are casters, so we may lose our pet anyway. So we'll tell him to sit down, and let's see if we can just make a nuisance of it ourselves. Yeah, so we're going to get them all, but we're going to pile drive this one guy and see if we can get him kind of handled here. And we got too close to the wall and aggroed pretty much everything else, so we're going to be in pretty bad shape. So we're going to play that. So we did successfully feign, which is nice, but with all these guys being healers, they're probably going to out-heal the damage that we just tried to do. So apparently with all my running around, we managed to aggro stuff through the wall, so that did not go as planned. I was hoping that we would have a little bit more range to deal with there, and they're just basically going to spam heal that little dude. So while the dots are going, and they did decent, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Handling 3 of them at a time when they're just at our level is going to be pretty difficult. So let's see here. At least the handy thing is with only 6, and that should wear off here in a minute. We're going to kind of stay down, I think, until we get the whole they've kind of forgotten about us aspect. There we go. Our enemies have forgotten about us. So let's do this. Going to immediately cast Invis on ourselves. We did not get in the aggro, so I think we'll be in good shape. Let's get out of the stupid pool that we fell into, because that was smooth. And we shall sit down here and try to bring the things back together. The first thing is let's make sure we get a new pet up with us. Now, what I am pretty sure is if we, spent all the time, and we probably went back to POK and got a full complement of buffs, and maybe including either some druid buffs or something along those lines where we had, like maybe a damage shield on the pet, and let the pet get him really beefed up, and then have the damage shield where most of the damage, he's just going to reflect it, and then focus just on the control. It would probably be quite a bit easier in that regard. And we're going to give it another time or two to try to see if we can break those 3. We're still keeping tabs on this one guy here, which can prove that we can fight right here in the corner, and I can sit right where I'm at and not aggro. It's getting too close to that door that's going to be the problem. So let's take a break while I sit here and bring things back together, and we will come back when I'm trying to break the table one more time. So we'll be back here in just a minute, guys. Well, guys, what we did find out, as you can see from the top-down view, what we did find out, and it actually won't let me pop up my map here to kind of give a visual of kind of what's going on, is the spawn time, at least for the guy in that bottom corner, he came back up at about a 13-minute mark. So we were able to sneak across the room. We killed that froglock again to try to make the space like we thought. Now, where I messed up in this was, for starters, forgetting to hit the record button sooner than I did. But what I did try to do the second time around was, rather than engaging myself immediately, we engaged with the pet first to try to get the pet's attention on one of the mobs. And I am standing kind of towards the back of the room. Like you see kind of where my corpse is right here, kind of right here and behind me a little bit was where the stray guy in the corner was. So we took him out, and then what we tried to do was engage on the guys that were up on the platform, the stage, however you want to refer to it. We sent the pet in first to get the attention on one of them. I got a snare and a fear on a second one. And my plan was if we can drop one of these guys down, just get one of them out of the way relatively quickly to increase the longevity of the pet, to give us a chance of at least dropping one, then we could feign death, kind of reset with a 13-minute timer, so long as we could kind of continually drop them one at a time-ish. Once we got the room under control, we'd have, a good 3 to 4 minutes once you get everybody down to, sit, meditate, get back up, kill a mob. The problem that we're having right now, of course, is, as mentioned numerous times, these pets are not necessarily made for serious tanking. And the problem is while I got one mob snared and feared, by the time that even happened, the pet was almost halfway done already. Of course, these mobs are blue to me at level 18, but the pet is only level 16. So that was problem number one. The pet was taking a horrible beating and dropped relatively quickly. The second problem, and I guess it's my own fault kind of for positioning, because this spot right around here is right about in the middle of the room, I believe, the little pond in the middle. And for some reason, when I engaged from here, even with the mobs being in front of me, being far away, I still managed to aggro the guys from the room prior. So that didn't work well in our favor. I'm curious whether this is possible. So it would be definitely possible, like I said, easily in a small group. Probably even a decent duo that could, kind of take their time and methodically pull them apart, especially if you had like an enchanter that could mez in a pet class like a mage or somebody like that. But it's definitely a challenge on our own. It's not one that I'm going to give up on for sure, because while I know at the higher levels it would be easier to sit here and roll the area, it's not quite as much fun when everything's just gray and you kind of just smoke it. But I'm wondering if the kind of the linchpin might be getting that next level pet where he's a little bit stronger. The mobs will still be blue to us, but the pet will be, on their size or maybe a little larger, as opposed to right now where they're all so much bigger than he is. So definitely a fun adventure. Like I said, coming into UpperGuk and actually trying something aside from just running through to Lower Guk for the bigger name spawns. I'm definitely not going to give up on the spot just yet, but I'm also not going to constantly film myself kind of getting clobbered here. I'm going to try to figure out a way to successfully break the room and then try to hopefully catch it on film for next time. But I think that's a pretty good spot to call it for the night. Like I said, we had an interesting adventure, so we moved over here to Guk. We checked out some of the spider action. So we did pick up kind of a couple of levels, just farming in some other areas. Again, Current's Tower, it's a great spot for experience. Even at 18, the experience could have kept going. While it would have slowed down a little bit, the experience modifiers were kind of offsetting that as opposed to some outside areas. And even in Guk, the experience modifier was quite good because we did not kill a lot of mobs, while fighting in here. But you saw earlier, I did not have a ton of experience when you got here. I mean, I padded the level a little bit, but just with the mobs that I did kill, I pushed my experience, and this is after dying and losing some, I pushed my experience into the 20% range, which is pretty good. So, again, risk, reward, not going to give up on this, that particular camp. We definitely want to try to see if we can't kind of get some more on upgrades. Might be worthy of just getting the experience in a safer area. Again, before doing the dungeons. It's all about the adventure, win or lose, fail or win, we're going to go back, we're going to try it again. It's, to me, much more enjoyable when it is a challenge, as opposed to like, oh, well, we'll just come back later when everything's gray. Kind of trying to avoid that. But at the same time, you don't want to just keep slamming the head into the wall, right? So we might pad up a little bit more experience, maybe get that kind of next level pet. And I've got all the spells ready to go. Harm Shield could be useful when trying to break, so we get that little bit of invulnerability. We get the bigger pet. He'll be kind of handy. Probably won't be using the Area of Effect Blast, at least in there, because that won't do well. And we get a slightly bigger, life tap again. Nothing spectacular at 19 that's really going to kind of push us another direction unless we go find another undead spot. But, like I said, having said all of that, definitely going to work on this a little bit more, see if I can actually get the area cleared. Hopefully try to get it on film at some point too, so kind of people can see what I did, unless we just have to push back a little bit and kind of come back later. But I think that's a pretty good spot to call it for the night. Hope you guys had a good time. Like I said, I had a good time, filming it. It's been, again, like so many of these instances I've been into, a very long time since I've kind of been in Guk, so it's always fun to go back and explore. There's a ton more to UpperGuk if we want to kind of keep exploring as we get bigger, but I think we'll handle that in a future episode. I hope everybody has a great night, and we will see you guys next time.